Have you ever wondered if what we learn from history books is actually true? It's a provocative question, isn't it? History, after all, is our collective memory, a tool for understanding our past and a compass that guides our future. Yet, its accuracy is often a subject of intense debate. There are two main perspectives when it comes to the authenticity of history books. On one side, we have the staunch defenders, those who trust the written word and believe in the authenticity of our historical records. They see history as a faithful chronicle of human events, transcribed by diligent historians. On the other side, we find the skeptics. They question the validity of these records, suspecting manipulation or bias, and argue that history is often written by the victors, potentially skewing the truth of past events. So let's delve into these perspectives and try to uncover the truth. First, let's explore the argument of those who staunchly believe in the accuracy of history books. There are people who ardently uphold the veracity of our history books. They have their reasons, and these are not to be taken lightly. For one, the process of creating a history book is no walk in the park. It's a rigorous journey filled with endless research, meticulous fact-checking, and a labyrinth of peer reviews. Imagine a battalion of scholars armed with their intellect and dedication, poring over countless documents, artifacts, and primary sources. These sources, often first-hand accounts or original records from a specific period, are considered the bedrock of historical accuracy. The defenders of history books also place immense faith in the professional integrity of historians. They argue that these scholars have devoted their lives to the pursuit of truth, unearthing the past with a commitment to objectivity. Historians are bound by a professional code of ethics, much like doctors or lawyers. They're expected to present the facts as they are, without bias or personal agenda. Let's consider some famous historians known for their credibility. There's Eric Hobsbawm, a British historian of the Industrial Revolution, whose works are still held in high esteem for their meticulous research and insightful analysis. Or Layla Fawaz, a renowned scholar on Middle Eastern history who's been lauded for her commitment to presenting an accurate, nuanced picture of the region's complex past. These individuals, among many others, represent the tireless dedication and relentless pursuit of truth that is the hallmark of the historical profession. But it's not just about the historians. We must also consider the institutions that publish these books. Many are respected academic presses with rigorous standards for accuracy and scholarship. They have a reputation to uphold, and they stake it on every history book they publish. It seems there is a strong case for the authenticity of history books, but what about the opposition? Now, let's turn to those who question the accuracy of history books. There's a group of individuals who take a skeptical stance towards historical records. Their main argument? Bias. Bias in the interpretation of events, bias in the selection of what to record, and even bias in the translation of ancient texts. They argue that history as we know it is often written from the perspective of the victors, the powerful, the influential. Thus, it may not always present a comprehensive or unbiased account of events. Another point the skeptics raise is the influence of power and politics on historical narratives. They assert that those in power often shape history to fit their agendas, sometimes rewriting or omitting certain events to glorify their reign or justify their actions. For instance, is it not conceivable that a despotic ruler might exaggerate his military victories or downplay his failures to appear more formidable? Then there's the argument about the inevitable gaps and omissions in history. Human history spans thousands of years across myriad cultures and civilizations. It is simply impossible, they argue, to capture every single event, every nuance, every perspective in a single history book. Consequently, what we read in these books is but a tiny fraction of the actual past. There are also instances where history books have been proven to contain inaccuracies. For instance, for many years, Christopher Columbus was widely hailed as the discoverer of America. However, it is now widely accepted that Viking explorer Leif Erikson reached North America almost 500 years before Columbus. Yet, many textbooks still perpetuate the Columbus myth, illustrating how inaccuracies can persist in our historical narratives. So, the skeptics make some compelling points. They remind us that history is not always black and white, but often shades of grey. They challenge us to question, to probe, to delve deeper, rather than accepting historical narratives at face value. Clearly, there is also a compelling case for skepticism. So, Where does this leave us? Considering both perspectives, perhaps the truth lies somewhere in between. Let's delve deeper into this idea. It's important to recognize that while history books strive for accuracy, they are not infallible. These books are written by human beings, after all, beings who are subject to biases, limitations in knowledge, and the constraints of their time. This isn't to say that every history book is a work of fiction, but rather it's a call to approach them with a certain level of skepticism and curiosity. Critical thinking plays a key role here. It's about asking questions, challenging assumptions, and weighing evidence. When we read about a historical event, we're not just absorbing facts, we're joining a conversation that's been ongoing for centuries, a dialogue filled with differing viewpoints, interpretations, and narratives. It's our responsibility to engage with these perspectives and form our own understanding. Consider the value of multiple sources. Just as a jigsaw puzzle is incomplete with a single piece, so too is our understanding of history with a single source. Different sources offer different viewpoints, shedding light on aspects that might have been overlooked or downplayed. This is particularly crucial when studying contentious or complex events where narratives can vary greatly. Yet it's not all doom and gloom. The field of history is constantly evolving, with dedicated scholars and researchers working tirelessly to improve accuracy and inclusivity. New sources are being discovered, old narratives are being re-evaluated, and forgotten voices are being brought back into the conversation. These efforts are gradually refining our understanding of the past, painting a more nuanced and comprehensive picture. Moreover, the advent of digital technology is revolutionizing the way we access and interpret historical data. From digitized archives to interactive timelines, these tools are making history more accessible and engaging than ever before. The question of whether history books are fake or not may be more complex than it first appears. Instead of viewing history books as either completely reliable or utterly false, perhaps it's more productive to see them as stepping stones on our journey of discovery. Imperfect, yet invaluable in our quest to understand the past. So can we trust our history books? In our exploration, we've journeyed through the question of authenticity, hearing from defenders, skeptics, and those who tread the middle ground. The defenders of history stand firm, asserting the rigorous standards and methodologies employed by historians to ensure accuracy. They argue that while not perfect, history books are the best tools we have to understand our past. On the other hand, skeptics caution us to be wary. They point out biases, partiality, and even outright errors that can creep into these texts, reminding us that history is often written by the victors. Then we have those who tread the middle ground. They recognize the merits of both arguments, urging us to approach history with a critical eye, balancing respect for the scholarship with a healthy dose of skepticism. In essence, the trust we place in our history books should be proportional to our understanding of their strengths and limitations. We must not forget that they are, after all, human creations subject to the same fallibility as their authors. While we may not have a definitive answer, one thing is certain: the study of history is a fascinating journey of discovery, filled with both certainty and mystery.